There may be some people who are listening to us from a dry county who are not interested in drinking alcohol. I just want to say, fuck off. We don't even want you as a listener. We've got nothing in common, okay? You walk into a shop in the UK and someone will kind of grunt at you. And then like, if you go on, can you help me please? They go, all right. Whereas in the States, it's like, hi, can I help? They can go a bit over the top.
It can, yeah.
When they pretend to be like your actual friend. Hi! All that. It's like, whoa, that's... Step back, Chad. That's a bit too much. If we get to 3,200 followers on Facebook, Baz will do an entire episode in an American accent.
And then we'll lose every single person that's ever come to the show.
That promise is still live.
Can he also do it wrapped in an American flag?
100%. If it gets us more followers... Only wrapped in an American flag. Hello, and welcome to the Mildly Controversial Podcast. On this week's show, we have Dayna Pereira. Baz and I had this idea that regular listeners will know that we occasionally like to have a tongue-in-cheek poke fun at Americans. Because it's one of our favourite hobbies.
It is the easiest thing to do, also. We make it very easy for you.
So, in the past, we've done a poke fun at the Americans. We've given Americans, including yourself, the right to reply. So we just thought on this one we'd do both. So We'll do a few things which are things we think the USA does better than the UK, and things that we think the UK does better than the US.
Okay.
And also, me and Baz have got a few things that we need to get off our chest that we think are batshit crazy about the USA that we don't understand. So help us understand. You're either going to help us understand or you're going to empathise with us and agree that they are batshit crazy.
I'm probably going to agree with you if I'm being honest. I'm about ready to jump ship over to your side of the pond.
Well, I was going to say, it's particularly crazy there at the minute, isn't it?
Yeah, it sure is. Although... it feels like it's been particularly crazy for like 5-6 years now. So.
Yeah, I mean, in this episode of America is getting to the finale, right?
I fucking hope so, man, because, I mean, the writers, they are coming up with some really insane shit for this season.
They've run out of ideas. They're just making up weird stuff now, aren't they?
Yeah. They're getting to the end of like their creative juices have almost expired and they've gone... oh, fuck it, let's just put this in, see if people notice.
They've introduced aliens now, okay? So.
Right then, so let's kick off first with, we'll be kind to our guest and we'll start off with something, and each one of us will come up with something that the USA does better than the UK.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So Dayna, we'll let you go first.
Okay. The US... does road tripping better than the UK. Our roads are much better for driving. There's not a gazillion roundabouts. I don't know if there's a gazillion roundabouts where you are, but I was just in Italy in June, and it was the most terrifying, like death-defying experience of my life.
It absolutely is. I've driven in Italy as well, and I'm thankful that I'm here to be able to say that sentence. Because,
yeah, exactly.
Because at times I didn't think I was going to get through it.
Yes. Yeah, you can easily drive here I've driven across the country 3 times now.
Well, the whole thing?
The whole thing, yeah.
Wow.
I'm originally from Pennsylvania, and I now live in California. I've driven across a couple of times, like... I drove across the country in a big-ass truck with my car behind me on a flatbed, and it was just me and my cat.
Wow.
That's a long way to go. What were you running from? That's what we need to know.
Oh, gosh, myself, my feelings, you name it.
She hadn't had the opportunity to unbad at that point.
Yeah. I was still batting
left.
at that point.
There was a lot of badding happening there. And so just for the uninitiated such as us, how long roughly does it take to drive from one side? We know it's big, but how long would it take to drive?
I mean, if you're stopping for rest and you're doing speed limit-ish, I would say about 3 days.
Okay, excellent.
That's how long it took me.
No.
Yeah.
That's the weirdest thing, is it? Because because you say about speed restrictions, we're all, why do you have to drive at 55? Which is ridiculous. It's not going backwards. Yeah, I don't know. But also, it's that thing, isn't it? Like, we talk about going up and down the country in hours, and you just went days. We're like, oh yeah, that does it.
It was like 3 days. Yeah. Whereas, and that is the thing, that is a big difference between the States and the UK, is that, anything more than an hour here is like, oof, you're going on a fair old journey there. But like, in the States, it'd be like, I'm just going to the shops. I'll be back in 5 hours.
Yes, I'll be back next month. Yes. Well, I drove to Scotland the beginning of this year, and I put on this mammoth journey of 19 hours, and people going, yeah, forget that. That's just a walk. Let's go to the end of the garden. I was like, all right, calm yourselves down.
I've never done a road trip in the States. But I think a road trip in the States would be a shitload more interesting than a road trip in the UK, because a road trip in the UK is just, small-ish in comparison, motorways.
Yeah.
And crap overpriced service stations, rather than actually seeing towns and interesting things along the way. It's just curled up egg mayonnaise sandwiches for £9 and fuel at 50% extra, 50% higher than it normally is.
Well, I was going to say, because obviously in our journey that we went up there, we went through 3 countries to do 19 hours. You'll go for 3 days and not even probably getting out of the same state that you live in most cases. So.
Yeah. Well, that's true. So whenever you were driving for 19 hours, did you stop to see anything, or were you just driving straight on through? You need to get to your destination.
No, it's slightly broken up. So it's a short trip from sort of south of England, going up the coast of Wales, the edge of Wales, and into Scotland, up on the west coast. Mm-hmm. There's not a lot to see until you get to Scotland, to be fair. And that's when it completely changes. So it's mountainous. Everything else is just the same as everywhere else, which is just green, trees and people and 1,000 cars.
And see, that's something different about the United States, too, is that you're driving from one state to the next. The landscape is different. The mountain areas are different. The bugs are different. There's lightning bugs in one state, not in another state. There's just so much, just differences between the states. I drove through Kansas at night, and I saw shooting star after shooting star after shooting star, because it was just flat nothingness, dark, beautiful. And then I drove through Utah, and it's these big, huge orange mountains that are majestic and gorgeous. It was every place that I went to, I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. So being able to see all of that, and it was very different, not the same.
So I thought when you said you were going through Canvas and you saw a shooting, I thought you were going to stop there, and I thought this is quite normal.
Well, that wouldn't be shocking. Luckily at this time, people weren't all, about their guns whenever I was driving through. Or maybe they were just quieter about it.
You were saying you drive through different states, and I think that the United States is just like a bunch of small countries, or some quite big.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the states are different, because it's, I only realised when the whole COVID thing was going on that Biden would say, right, you all have to do this, and then states would go, yeah, we're not. I was like, what? Isn't he the president of the country? It was like, yeah, I know, but yeah, we're not doing that. I was like, hey? So it is. It's just like a bunch of different countries.
It really is, and it's it can be very frustrating at times, because we are a part of one country. So whenever you're trying to get things in check, and then this place is saying nope, no, thank you, and then this place is like, yeah, we're doing all the things. There's no way to like get things to even out because you can cross state lines without a passport. You can do all of those things. So it was difficult. It can be frustrating at times.
I'm lost. Is it? It's one of those, just like you say, you pass into somewhere else. There's no kind of you are from the same country, and yet you'll go on the other side, and you'll fall foul to a completely different law.
It can be, yeah, because states get to pass a lot of their own laws and they can be different. For example, I mean, very controversial right now is abortion. And there's a lot of states that say that if you are 6 weeks pregnant or whatever, you're not allowed to have an abortion. Doesn't matter if you're a 12-year-old girl that got raped, you have to have this baby. But if they drive to California, they have access to abortion. Different states have different laws for all of those things. So a lot of times these people are just crossing state lines to get whatever they need. Some states are allowed to have alcohol shipped to them. Other states are not. It's like, I'm very happy that I live in a state where I can have alcohol shipped to me.
Yeah.
There you go. If I was to move to the States, that's definitely the first thing that I would think of. I'd say, right, I don't care what the laws are and what the environment's like, the crime statistics or anything like that. If it's a dry state, I'm not living there, I'll tell you right now.
Well, there are some states that close down alcohol shops on Sundays. I'm like, what do you do? Have you never heard of a Sunday fun day? That's all we do is drink on Sunday.
Yeah, but surely you've got to just plan it better and just go out on Saturday and buy a shitload of it, right?
Well, that's what people have to do.
But
they have to plan.
So there's people who get caught short on a Sunday who are like the really miserable ones.
Yeah.
But aren't there still some like counties and states that don't have alcohol at all?
Yeah, there are definite dry counties.
I've heard of this mythical beast that just sounds ridiculous. Who wrote
so
that?
We don't get to break down our listenership any smaller than countries. So there may be some people who are listening to us from a dry county who are not interested in drinking alcohol. I just want to say, fuck off. We don't even want you as a listener. We've got nothing in common, okay?
My whole thing is you go ahead and not drink, but you don't get to decide if I get to drink.
Absolutely. And we've got that in our house because my wife is a week away from 1,000 days without a drink.
Wow.
But I've pretty much upped my game. Because
you had to take over for her.
Yeah.
You're drinking for two.
Brewers have got families and mortgages to pay. Do you know
That's
what I
true.
mean? Prosecco producers
That's
have
right.
got families to feed, mortgages to pay. If she just stops, then obviously the support that we're giving to those people halves. So I've had to step up my game. I'm trying really hard. I don't like to talk about it too much, but I don't like to I don't like to boast about it too much. But it feels it feels as satisfying and enriching as charity work. To be honest.
Yeah.
So that beer ain't going to drink itself, is it?
No, it's not. So yeah, I've done what I can. I've done what I can to get that back in. Okay, Baz, have you got something that the USA does better?
Definitely one thing they do better than anywhere else in the rest of the world: theme parks. Absolutely dominate. I mean, I haven't been to many in the rest of the world, and but the point is, the most famous ones are the ones, like the oldest ones, and the ones that are more famous definitely come from America. I mean, they're massive, aren't they? They've turned them into actual towns and countries now.
Yeah. And it's funny you said that because as an American, I'm sitting here, I would have never even thought about theme parks in another country. I didn't think that there was anything special about ours.
Oh, they're just bigger.
As with a lot of American things,
We are gluttonous.
bigger, noisier, and more fun.
Yeah, I would not have thought that about theme parks. That's awesome.
I agree, Baz. I used to work for a company. I used to work for Kellogg's, which is an American company. And I used to work on the Walmart account. So with them both being American companies, all our conferences were always over in the States.
What a shame.
And we had one that was, the venue of it was actually in Disneyland in Anaheim.
Yeah.
And just, I will give you just one very quick story that makes this just does not seem like real life and certainly does not feel like a work trip. So the first night we were in there, it was a free night. We didn't have anything. No, there was no conference or anything like that. We got to know these guys who worked for the company in the States. And at dinner, this guy just came over and he dropped a couple of tickets next to me. And I was like, what's that? He says, oh, we're going to the House of Blues after this. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, I'm not really into blues or that kind of shit. Oh, no, it's not blues tonight. It's James Brown. I was like, I'm sorry, what? As in the James Brown. He's like, yeah, James Brown next door. I was like, this is insane. And long story short, we went to this gig. There must have been 200 people maximum. And the actual James Brown. And just like, it was one of those things where it's like, it's almost as if like, welcome visitor to the United States.
Yes.
Come and see this iconic singer singing Living in America, by the way.
Especially because you're turning up this evening.
I was like, is it like this every day? Is this just what people do over here? Is it now?
Nope. We do it once so we can reel you in. And then once we get you on the line, then we throw all the bad shit at you. We're like, oh, by the way, everybody here is addicted to drugs and has a gun. So,
well, do you know what? It was such a good trip, and obviously we got to go around the theme parks and stuff, and we were just like, because obviously Americans are very kind of like whoop and all this, the whooping and lots of noise, and so me and this other lad who's also from Manchester in the UK, right? Every time we went on a ride and we were going up, we'd be literally leaning over the side going, woo, yeah! Like this. And lines to get on the... They'd be doing it back to us and we were like, this is amazing. And in the end, it got to the stage at the end of the second day where we were chanting USA at the top of these things and everyone on the ride joined in. It was just brilliant. We were just loved it. It was like a little sport for us in the end. It was like, how much of a chant can we get going? How American can we seem? And get like everybody else joining in with us. It was incredible.
If I would have saw you leaning over that, doing like screaming USA and whooping, I absolutely would have joined in. 100%.
It was so good. And it was, we went to this show and it was like a Terminator, like a 4D thing. So it was like a 3D thing. But then there was like these things like Terminator blew up and the molten metal went into the air and then you feel actual drops of water and then there's a real motorbike comes through and it's an incredible thing. And when that finished, me and John were sat on the front and we started whooping and chanting USA and everyone joined in as well.
Sounds about right.
This is my favourite time ever. So yes, in summary, Baz, yes, they absolutely do theme parks better.
What do you got?
That is good to know. I'm going to put that on my list.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, you should be very, very proud.
Sorry, just put in context for Dayna, one of our sort of biggest and best ones in this country is called Alton Towers.
Okay.
And it's...
But do you know what? I think if you come from America to Alton Towers, I think they would love that.
Yeah.
Because it's all, there's actual historical buildings in that, and and we know that, America didn't exist before, like 1492, did it?
Yeah.
Is that the right year? Did I get that one right?
Did you say 1492?
Yeah, is that right? Is it not? Something happened then, didn't it?
1256.
I don't know. 1256, so just before 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Exactly.
I can't be that specific, Baz. I don't know. Something happened in 1492, didn't it? Is that not the name of a film?
Columbus sailed the ocean blue, I believe.
There you
is
go.
What happened
1492. Yeah, he turned up and went, oh, look, nobody lives here.
Yeah, not a single indigenous person
those
in sight.
guys with the feathers.
Nobody loves it. I mean, they've sent out a welcoming party for us, and they all look very pretty with their funny hats on. But, but I don't see that as a problem for us keeping this place. Anyway,
we can share it, can't we?
That's my point. Is that the buildings in Alton Towers are probably pre. People stealing your country off the people who actually own it. So.
That's one of my... Well, I guess we'll get to that later when we do what UK does better than the US. But I do love the old buildings. That is my favorite.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay, so mine. I'm going to... I would say the US does customer service better, but I do need to put a proviso in that they can quite often overdo it. Do you know what I mean? So dead friendly staff, and so in shops and waiters, waitresses, and things like that. Way more friendly than the UK. Oh, 100%.
Yeah, 100% agree with this one.
100%, honestly, just like really friendly. It was like, "Hi, how are you?" Like you walk into a shop in the UK, and someone will kind of grunt at you, and then like if you go over, can you help me, please? They go, "All right," and walk over and help you. Whereas in the States, it's like, "Hi, can I help you?" And like I say, to a point, it can get they can go a bit over the top.
It can, yeah.
When they pretend to be like your actual friend. Hi! All that. It's like, whoa, that's... Step back, Chad. That's a bit too much, all right? Do you know what I mean? But I think in general, in terms of customer service and in terms, so waiters, waitresses, and theme parks as well. My brother is disabled, and they just he was astonished when he went to he got to the front of every queue in a theme park so much and so quickly and so efficiently in the States that he still suffers from vertigo to this day, because he whizzed round a roller coaster and then sent straight onto another, whizzed round another roller coaster, then straight to another, and he still has vertigo to this day. from that.
He got the American gluttony, and now he's paying for it.
There you go. It's like, yeah, you don't have to wait there. Come on, in you come. So this is interesting to see your reaction to that you don't agree with that.
You know what? Maybe I'm just spoiled by it because, when you're used to it so much, like I worked in retail whenever I was younger, and it was like if you did not say hello and greet the customer as they walked in, if you had a secret shopper, then you would get points taken off. So somebody steps foot into a store, immediately you're like, hey, how you doing? Can I help you find anything? Because they threaten you with these secret shoppers all the time.
Yeah.
Oh, well, let's put a different spin on it, Baz. Well, I thought these people were genuinely nice, helpful people. I didn't realise they were threatened.
So maybe, a lot of them probably are. However, I also come across a lot of really rude people. Like I'll walk into a store and somebody will grunt at me or not even pay attention to me. And if I need help and cannot find anybody to help me, I just put my shit down and walk out. So I'm like, fuck, I might be spoiled.
It might be the clever ones hear your accent and go, here's a big tip coming up. Because I remember meeting a guy called Ben. I knew that because he introduced himself the moment we walked in, said that he was serving us today, and he gave us the best breakfast at a place called Serendipity in Vegas. Just literally, I remember it so well because it was the first time I went, what is going on here? This guy has just told me everything I need to know, handed me everything I need to have, told me everything that's going to happen with the meal, and timed it all to perfection and brought it all to us. The only bit he didn't do was cut up and feed me by hand. Everything else was just, the best service I've ever had.
Because then it would get weird, okay?
Yes.
If he didn't feed you by hand, I hope you didn't tip him.
No, well, yeah. We basically walked out in disgust. It's ridiculous.
So funny story. My husband actually cuts my meat on my plate for me. We'll be out at a restaurant and he'll just pull my plate over, cut up my meat for me, and push the plate back to me.
Wow.
Is that an instruction from your mum?
Is this a coercive control thing? Is this a cry for help from you?
No, Dana's just not allowed knives. That's all it is.
That might be it.
So talk us through the reason behind that. Is that something you've asked him to do for you so often he's gone, oh, fucking hell, give it here, and I'll do it?
Maybe. So my husband, this is what I like to think it is, but I could be way off. I'll have to ask him. My husband used to be a butcher. And so he knows how to, he knows how to cut everything off the bone the right way. I will struggle. And then I waste meat because I've struggled and I've left half of it on the bone. So he's just like, give it to me. I'll do it. I'll cut it off for you. And then here you go. Because he is, he has the knowledge. He's more equipped.
So do you go to a restaurant and say, I'll have the fish, please, and say, would you like us to fillet it? Oh, no. He's got this.
I brought my own.
Yeah. Oh, no. I married this one for a reason. Yeah. Watch this.
He's got a pair of tweezers. He's going to pin bone it as well.
Exactly. He's
tremendous.
good for something.
Well, I've completely lost the plot then. What were we talking about?
Do you know what? We briefly mentioned then something which I'm going to say is the flip side. That it just one of the things that I think is batshit crazy about the USA is the tipping culture. And there's a lot of things wrapped into this. And, I don't have a problem with, rewarding somebody for good service and things like that. But the thing that I just can't get my head around is it's expected. And it kind of goes back to, like Baz said, he had breakfast in a place in Vegas. I've got a story about having breakfast in Vegas. And the server that we had came over and she was just kind of like, well, what do you want? What do you want? Wrote it all down, walked away. And then she was like, throwing the plates down on the table. She wouldn't lean over the table to pass a plate over to somebody else. She nudged someone and got them to pass it over. And
She's putting them to work.
Oh, it was horrendous. And do you know what? Give her the benefit of the doubt. Might have had a really bad day or been going through a bad time or whatever. But still, you've still got a job to do. And us being British, I mean, the Americans think we're tight for not tipping. But we don't tip because restaurants pay a living wage to waiters and waitresses, so it's not they don't rely on it, yeah. But then, so we paid at the end of this, and there was maybe 15 of us, and people are saying, "Oh, should we put so how much is it?" I said, "It's this," and they said, "How much is that each?" And someone said, "Right, what about a tip?" I was like, "Absolutely not." Did you see what she was like? So in the end, we just put exactly down to the quarter what that was, right? And we went to walk away. She looked at us and she went, "No tip." And I was like, "No, absolutely not." I said, "Your service was appalling. We've paid and we're walking out, but and my tip or my gift to you is me not going back to your manager and saying how fucking dreadful you are at your job." And we walked out. But I just thought the audacity of somebody to expect a tip, and I know the way it works in that, I mean, Baz, maybe you and a lot of our UK listeners won't understand. I had a little bit of a look into this, because one of the other things that comes into this is kind of employment rights, which in the UK we've got a load of them, and we don't even realise, because in the States you don't. So the minimum wage in the USA, I looked it up today, is $7.25. Or if you have a job that involves getting tips, your minimum wage is $2.13 an hour.
What?
Yes, and that is where the tipping comes in, especially. So, and this goes back to the state laws being different. Minimum wage in California, I think, is $17 right now.
Right.
But in different states, minimum wage is a different price. And whenever you are in the service industry, it can be a different price. So whenever I was in Pennsylvania, I think the servers were making like $2 and something. I can't remember what the cents were, but $2 and something plus tips. So that is why in Pennsylvania, it's very important to tip your servers because they don't make shit. In California, it's minimum wage. So in California, they make minimum wage plus tips. But again, I'm about to sound like such a fucking indulgent piece of shit. I really like to make people's day. So if I'm doing the tipping, especially if I've gotten very good service, like I'll tip $100. I'll tip something. I'll tip 100% of the check, whatever it is. If I just like get a feeling, I don't know, like if I'm feeling generous or whatever.
Yeah.
And I do that a lot, which is why my husband picks up the tab so often, because he's like, please stop it.
Yes.
If I'm going to cut your meat, I'm going to pay for it as well and stop you overpaying.
But I know that so many people in our service industries they're working paycheck to paycheck. And that's rough. And so, I tend to be a little over generous, even when I probably shouldn't be. But I think that's because I worked in the service industry also, and I know what it's like to have a really bad fucking day and not be able to think of anything except for whatever terrible thing happened to you, and then you have to go out and confront these people, and you have to serve them, and you have to be nice to them, and you have to do all the things for them, and and there's a lot of asshole people out there that are like, I said I wanted a nice tea, and you're like, no, you said lemonade. Well, I want an iced tea now.
Yeah.
Fine. So.
But that's the thing that we don't understand. Why doesn't the restaurant or wherever it is that people work?
Oh, this is an easy one.
Why don't they just charge slightly more and pay them a proper wage?
Well, because they do charge more.
But
they're greedy.
Yes.
They keep it.
I can't believe they would do such a thing.
It is shocking.
But yeah, that's something that just doesn't comprehend with, because we've got like minimum wage across the country, and the minimum wage is equivalent to $13. See, I've done a bit of research here today, Baz.
Wow.
I know, yeah.
I just got out of bed.
Yeah, exactly. So nobody who listens regularly is surprised at either of those things. By the way.
Baz rolls out of bed, looks pretty, talks in the microphone, and goes back to bed.
He's made an effort with looking as Alabama as he can with the stars
with the
and stripes
flag and
behind him
everything,
as well.
huh?
So if you are listening on the audio podcast, head along to facebook.com/mildlypod and have a look at what Baz looks like. Uncle Jesse off Dukes of Hazzard is where I'm going with it.
I was about to do a hey y'all, but then you just cringe and die, so I'm not allowed to do them anymore. So,
while we're at it, people, if we get to, what was it,
3,200?
If we get to
3,000,
if we get to 3,200 followers on Facebook, Baz will do an entire episode in an American accent.
and then we'll lose every single person that's ever come to the show.
That promise is still live.
Can he also do it wrapped in an American flag?
100%.
That'll be the least of the problems with it. Let's be fair here.
And do you know what? If it gets us more followers, only wrapped in an American flag.
I want to see that transition.
Still won't be the worst thing about that episode.
I want to see that transition video.
God.
I think if we told people that Baz would do one naked but for an American flag, our listeners, our viewers on that particular episode would be sky high.
We already have too many men, so yeah.
So yeah, just to kind of finish off on the employment things, just that I cannot believe, like, again, there'll be a load of people in the UK won't know this, but there's in the UK, if you work a 5-day-a-week job, you're entitled to 28 days paid holiday a year.
Isn't that wonderful?
In the States, the minimum is, Baz, do you know what the minimum is?
I just assumed the stuff around the world was the same, quite close. Clearly, by your faces, it's not.
Let's play a little game, Baz. Do you want to guess what the minimum number of paid holidays an employer is allowed to offer?
Well, I think it's an easy guess that it's quite low, so I'm going to go fuck all.
And you'd be correct.
Yeah, I was only doing that purely by... Yeah, there's obviously a big gap between what we're talking about. That's ridiculous.
Nothing. You can offer somebody a job and say, "What about holidays?" Nah, you don't get them,
mate. I did.
If you don't turn up, you don't get paid.
Genuinely didn't know that. That's shocking.
It's unreal, isn't it? Same with maternity leave. There's no, if you go away to have a baby in the UK, 39 weeks, you get paid. Not full pay. It varies company by company, but the government will give you a minimum of a statutory maternity pay. So it's not a great amount of money, but you still get some money. And there is a maximum 48-hour work week as well. Mm-hmm. So if you work in certain industries, then there's a kind of a workaround. If you're a carer and you work 12-hour shifts looking after people overnight and things like that, or if you're in the armed forces, or if you're in emergency services and things like that. But in general, there's a maximum 48-hour work week. So all of these things are not a thing.
Well, I have a confession. I used to work for the local authority, the county council, and we used to have to clock in the morning, clock out at lunch, clock back in after lunch, and clock out at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. You used to just clock in, go downstairs to the basement, and have another hour's lunch. Then then no one would know about it. So they're quite easy things to. Hints from the mildly controversial podcast here: cheat the system by not going back to work once you've clocked in.
Well, that's quite something. Baz has openly admitted to fraud.
Yep.
And as custodian of the mildly controversial podcast, I would like to divorce myself completely from that and say that Baz's views are his own. And if anybody comes back to Baz from said county council and wants to claim the money back, it's him, not me.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah. Just want to be clear. Okay, so Baz and I have got a couple of things that we think are batshit crazy about the USA, and we'd like your thoughts.
Okay.
So, do you want to go first, Baz?
I will do, because I think mine will be a bit milder than yours. I'm hoping to, anyway. Who knows? So, batshit crazy stuff about the USA is banning drag queens from readings. I mean, I'm going to just dive straight into that, because it's literally the weirdest thing I've seen in recent terms. And I've seen some of the clips on TikTok and Instagram of the guy interviewing the guy from the gun lobby, and him basically saying about doing the stats between like how many drag queens have killed children and how many guns have killed children, and where's the danger. So Mike,
Baz, you're going to have to give me and presumably a bunch of our listeners a bit more detail on this. What the fuck is this all about?
So once again, I don't think it's countrywide, but it's certainly in certain states, and then probably the Bible states, isn't it? Drag queens have been banned from school readings. Is this right, isn't it?
So, like libraries and stuff like that, there is a big push against drag queens in general, even not around children, but they're not allowed to read books to children, because there was some drag queen book readings that so many people lost their minds over. It's the dumbest thing in the world. Has nobody in the United States watched Mrs. Doubtfire?
Yeah.
Because that is a man dressed in drag reading books to children.
It's what? Oh, Dayna, Jesus.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, so basically, I think certain groups are saying it's morally reprehensible, and it's teaching children to, about cross-dressing and genderism and stuff like that.
To be drag queens.
Yeah. So, but basically, they had a gun lobbyist on a set of interviews who was basically like saying how this should all be banned, and then the guy was asking about guns, and he was like, "Well, no, this is fine. This is our amendment rights to own guns." And basically just saying how bad drag queens were, and then getting shown up for literally having no fucking argument at all. It's just ridiculous.
Well, the point was, the guy asked him, like, how many drag queens have killed children? And he was like, don't know, right? Because it's 0.
Yeah.
And then he was like, how many guns have killed children? What's the leading cause of death in children? And the guy's like, well, I guess you're going to say guns. And he's like, no, I'm not assuming. It is. It is factual that the leading cause of death in children right now is guns. And you're over here wasting your energy on a fucking drag queen. Like, put your energy where it needs to go. The drag queens are not hurting the kids.
This is unreal. And I'm aware that, look, we are the mildly controversial podcast. We don't do politics and all that kind of stuff. And there will be some of our listeners who will disagree with what we're saying. But from an outsider's point of view, from somebody on this side of the Atlantic, that definitely falls under the category of batshit crazy.
Yeah.
So
it is
well
batshit
done,
crazy.
Because the whole thing of like guns don't kill people. People kill people with guns, and it's much harder to kill people without the guns.
Totally.
I mean, I think that's undeniable.
Another thing that we just don't get over here, which is batshit crazy.
The other thing, you're saying about it's our constitution and all this kind. I'm not aware of any other country in the world that still lives by, to the letter, rules and laws and everything that were written centuries ago.
Yep.
Written before they knew dinosaurs existed.
Yes.
And they're still going, well, we can't do that. You can't change that because that was written on a piece of paper centuries ago. The whole thing of like, you can't change that because it's the such amendment. Do people in America not know what the word amendment means?
Yeah.
Amendment means a change.
Most people do know what an amendment is. It's just that a lot of the people that don't want change to happen have conveniently forgot what an amendment is.
Or did somebody write in there, we can only have so many, so they've run out of amendments? Is that what it is? Because it's a fifth, right? Is there a sixth and a seventh? I don't know.
I would really like to hold some of these people to the standards of 300 years ago and see how they fare in that climate because they want to keep women and gay and everybody non-binary at those standards from 300 years ago, but they wouldn't survive it themselves.
Well said.
Fuck yeah.
Yes.
Boom.
Just did a virtual high five just then. Which is very un-British of me, and I do apologise to everybody who saw it happen.
Well, I'm from Alabama, so I'll give you a high 6. So
Yeah. Or a high 3.
Baz, I told you we can't break our listenership down to state level, so I don't know how many we've lost now because of that. The one that I want to talk about that people don't, and again, we don't do politics on this, so we're not going to talk about
saying
this.
that, but we keep getting there.
Well, no, but we don't, because we haven't talked about politics. And this is my point, is that in the States, everything is politicized.
Yeah.
Everything. And it's insane, because we look from over here, and it's just like everything from, like, gun laws is politicized. So it's like, if you vote red, you think this way. If you vote blue, you think another way. And it's like vaccines, masks, renewable energy, global warming, the news channel you watch.
Yep.
That is just fucking baffles us in the UK because, look, there are 3 or 4 different news channels you can watch over here, right? And there is a new like GB News, which is very political. It's not actually a news channel, but they've called themselves that, and at some point they'll get that they'll not be allowed to call themselves a news channel anyway, because it's just. But over here, it's like the news, the person reading the news has to read the news and not give an opinion. If they want people to give their opinion, they have to get somebody from one side and somebody from the other, and they both have to say their bit. Okay.
Wow, that's awesome.
I'm not naive enough to think that BBC News, Sky News, and things like that have a political slant one way or the other, but it is a slight nudge to one side. Okay?
Yeah.
I was following the US election the last time, and we watched Fox News for a bit, and then we switched over to CNN, and then we switched back to Fox News, and then we switched back to CNN, and was like, are they talking about the same thing that's happening? Because they're not saying anything the same that's happened.
Nothing is the same. Everything is skewed towards left and right. It's been very divisive in our country. Everything is political. And it honestly feels like the beginning of the end. Like, this is how, civil wars start and people start
100%.
turning on each other. And so it's actually a little terrifying. There was just a woman nearby, a couple of hours away, who had a gay pride flag out in front of her store that she owned. And some guy told her he didn't like it and to take it down. And she said no. And he shot her and killed her. This woman who was just showing support. She was like a mother of 9 living in like a small community. And I'm like, that's fucking terrifying. We should be able to show support. And just like you want to hang your flag, your Trump flag or whatever, and they want to hang their gay pride flag. We were built on the standards that we are supposed to all be allowed to do those things without fear of dying because of it.
I'm pretty sure. I don't know the US Constitution, obviously, but I'm sure there's something in there about free speech, isn't there?
Yes, yeah. And people really like to talk about that. And it's... it's scary. It's scary. It's a lot.
Free speech is only okay if you agree with what the person's saying.
Yeah, Pretty much.
If you don't agree with what they're saying, they can shut up until you find somebody that they like. But the thing is, with the way social media is going at the moment, and the way algorithms work, it's just getting worse and worse and worse. So in the States, there's a two-party system. In the UK, there's not, and it's a bit more kind of nuanced in terms of there are different things. But ultimately, there are only two.
Yeah.
There are only two parties that have enough support and enough and get enough MPs to ever be a form of government. But it's it feels to me as an outsider that if I was to, Baz and I have got different political views, right? Mm-hmm. But we're still best mates. We still get on.
Yeah.
We don't fall out about it. And
yeah.
And that's why we avoid talking about politics. But it doesn't seem it looks from an outsider's point of view that isn't an option in the States. It's you can't spend time and socialize with somebody who's got a different political view from you, because everything you talk about has got politics hanging off it.
Well, can I give you a little insight as to why? So with you and Baz, you aren't worried about somebody you love dying because of his political views. You're not worried about being hurt yourself because of, political views. And that is a very different thing here in the United States. One of my best friends in the whole world, she is a commander in the Navy. And she's gay. And I have to worry about her all the time. Like, she is a commander in the goddamn Navy, but somebody on the right thinks that she doesn't deserve to live. And it blows my mind. And that's with a lot of things. I have a lot of friends that are, all over the walks of life. And I worry about them because if somebody doesn't like it, they just hurt you. And so politics here is a literal life and death situation.
And I think that's the difference between the States and the UK in that it is so black and white or red and blue.
Yeah.
That it's like if you vote Republican, you have to kind of completely denounce LGBT rights and all the. It's like there's rules where it's like, well, if you're over here, then you're a lefty communist woke, or if you're over here, you're a Nazi, and there's nothing in between, and it's that's what it looks like from
there
from
is
the outside.
in between. It's just that we don't have a party that's in between. And that's the problem. There's a lot of people that are in between that are like, listen, I have, conservative fiscal views, but, not so conservative social views. And so there is a lot of in between, but we only get those two parties to choose from. They're both trash. That's all we got. It's broken. It's super broken.
Exactly. And like I say, it's because I think it's because everything gets politicized that I might agree with Baz on some things, disagree with him on other things,
right.
And things are a lot more mixed. And there isn't this kind of, it doesn't matter which, what color rosette the person you voted for has got on here. That doesn't affect your views on gay rights, on environmental issues, on.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's just you just vote for somebody you think is going to do it in a different way. Whereas in the States, it feels like it's kind of like there's a lot more kind of like, well, if I'm over here voting this way, I've got to think like everybody over this side, and I can't even entertain, conversations about what's going on over here. And it just, like I say, look, if I've upset some of our listeners, I don't really care because
fuck it.
Because to be honest, look, it's not the end of the world. I'm just saying from an outsider's point of view, so from people outside of the US, that is what we see going on in the US. From conversations I've had with Baz, we clearly don't talk about politics very often, but from conversations I've had with Baz, I am 99% sure we both voted for different sides of the divide.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Right.
And we have done, and we always will. But it doesn't stop us being really close friends. And it also doesn't stop us having very similar opinions about the rights of people based on
Human rights should not be political.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's like we have very similar views on people's rights based on their sexuality, their gender, their race.
Their race. Race is another huge one in the U.S. right now that is fucked.
Their occupation, their social standing, all of those things. Doesn't stop us having similar views on that. But it feels, from an outsider's point of view, that is less of a thing in the States.
The States are batshit crazy. And it's leading with such hate. That's what really bothers me, is that if you are leading with anger and hate in your heart, like, that should be your first clue that it's not okay, that it's not good. If you're feeling angry and pissed off about something, like, because this person is black and got a position that you did not get, or because this person is gay and they kissed their partner in front of you, or, I mean, so many things. If you're leading with anger and hate, that should be your first clue that it's not right. And, you know, it's gotten to a point now where I do get angry, but I don't want those people to die. I just kind of want them to open their eyes and love a little more, you know, like a lot more.
It's like hate light.
Yeah, yes.
It's not full sugar hate. It's hate light.
Exactly.
That's fine. That's okay.
Yeah. 50% fat.
Do you know what? I'm loving this conversation. I'm not sure how much, if any, of this is going to make the podcast.
Right. I kind of assumed that.
I'm loving it. I'm loving catching up with you. I love spending time with you and things like that. But yeah, I'm not sure how much of the. I'll wade through it at some point and decide what I'll let through. What I'll let through my. I just.
No, I get it. I understand.
I just think it's. Because everything is politicized, I wouldn't, it would just be like, we've got a bunch of listeners in the States that would just be like, well, I'm not listening to that woke shit anymore.
Yep.
Because I don't want to fucking kill gay people. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I've lost followers in the States because I wore a kilt, which some people just assume is a dress no matter what you do. I think by and large, most people are generally decent, but yeah, once you add politics, people just go fucking batshit crazy.
One of the things I didn't say about everything being politicized in the States is that I cannot believe that the Supreme Court is filled with people who've got a political rosette on. I was like,
yeah,
the highest lawmakers in the land should not have a political affiliation. They should just do their job. They should just say, this is the way laws should work for everybody.
It's bonkers. This whole thing is
fucking
bonkers.
Nuts. Why are the highest level of the judicial system in a developed country? Why are they even allowed to say if they have a political preference? I was like,
it's crazy.
When you're at that level, you shouldn't even be allowed to vote, for fuck's sake. Do you know what I mean? You should be like, no, you're above and beyond. You make the laws. You don't get to decide who comes in and just makes it happen. Do you know what I mean? I think it's insane.
It is.
Anyway, it's lovely in Ireland.
You want to come and live in my little village? There's no politics here.
Is there not, Baz?
Well,
is there?
I know. I keep seeing one of these new political parties. Yeah, it's like a local guy going, "Oh, we're going to take it back to the '70s." I was like, "You do remember it was shit then, don't you?"
Yeah.
It's like all these people that you get the Labour Party saying like, "Oh, the trains are fucked. Let's bring them under national control." I was like, do you remember how shit it was when the government ran the railways? They never ran on time. They were fucking appalling. And on that bombshell, that is where we will leave it for this week. Thank you so much, Dayna, for joining us again. Look, we love you so much. We just, when we thought we will have a let's get an American on, we chose our favourite American. Now, if you are one of the other Americans we know who've been on the show before,
I beat you.
yeah, Dayna's just better than you and has a reliable internet connection and phenomenal sound quality. So, do you know, it all counts.
I knew this expensive mic would do something for me.
There you go, you see. So, Dayna, look, I've thoroughly enjoyed your company again. Really enjoyed having you on. If people want to catch up with everything that Dayna's got going on, Dayna, remind us of the name of the podcast, name of your socials and stuff, and then we'll say goodbye.
Yeah, absolutely. And I am happy to be the token American over here on the Mildly Controversial podcast.
Absolutely.
I post all of my stuff on social media. At Instagram, It's Dayna Pereira. And the podcast is called Unbatting, and it is available wherever you get your podcasts.
Nicely done.
There you go, wherever you got this podcast. So, as we always say, listen to all of our stuff first, and then when you've got a bit of time after you've listened to our stuff, then listen to Dayna's stuff. It's good.
Just do it straight after ours every week. It'd be perfect.
There you go. Everybody's got time for 2 podcasts a week, ours and Dayna's. There you go.
Damn straight.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Dayna. Thanks, Baz, as always. Thanks for your... like I say, people, if you're listening on the audio podcast, head along to facebook.com/mildlypod and check out Baz in his best Uncle Jesse off Dukes of Hazzard with the US flag behind him. Thanks again, Dayna, and we will see you all next time. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.
Bye, all.
I love the fact you went for a bye, y'all.
I love it too.
And then bottled it halfway through and it went...
Bye.
And it sounded like bile.
Bile.